Anne came to me and said, I have this great story about a very real, raw woman who's aging and desperate and loves her cat more than anything else, and would you be interested? And I said, well, of course, that makes good sense to me. And we basically began our business around this movie. Yeah. The entire crew and cast was, I think, probably one of the brightest spots of an otherwise fairly cold winter. I mean, that was a pretty great team of people, and everyone seemed to really respect one another, to get along really well, and I think everybody was having a lot of fun doing it. But it was a really fantastic production from start to finish.
But we got to shoot in places like Julius's bar, where Lee actually drank, and to go into an actual location where Lee actually sat, and the bartender knew her, and the owner of the bar knew her, and the various people that were there on a Tuesday afternoon knew her. And I've never really had the opportunity to take a story back into the actual spot where it happened in that way. And that was really, again, as New York producers, that was a really great thing. Yeah.
Well, I only got a chance to work with Melissa, but it was really, I've always admired her. She's the funniest person I know of. But you know, she's got extraordinary skills, and it was really a gift and an inspiration to be with her. And I wish I'd had more to do than what I did, but I'm grateful for what I did have. You know, I think what the audience, I hope what they take away is that no matter how bad your circumstances are around you, that there's always going to be, you can find somebody, you can find one buddy.
You know, it's a story about people failing upwards. Two incredibly lonely people in a very rich city, which New York is in the early 90s, but who, out of desperation and loneliness, find each other. Which sounds like it's a grim, you know, heavy social docudrama. It's not, because there's an enormous amount of wit and warmth and comedy that comes through it. The main difficulty was working with Melissa McCarthy, who's a nightmare. She never knows her lines. She's grumpy. She hated me. It was an absolute blast working with her every day. So I loved her. There was one scene where I had to get out of bed, and I was supposed to have shagged somebody, and I said, I can't get out in a pair of boxer shorts. It's too, you know, it's not realistic. Even though I'm, 62 years old, so I said, I have to show one of my butt cheeks. So they had lawyers and agents. I had to sign a nudity contract. I thought it was hilarious. So I just said to the cinematographer, please, can you just be charitable and kind, because in the age of freeze frame and high definition, I do not want my 60-year-old butt. What we've been so surprised by is that when it launched at Telluride Film Festival and then Toronto last month, is that people have come away and said how much they have rooted for these characters, despite their moral wobbliness, and that it makes you feel something. It makes you care for people.
Well, it's Lee Israel's story, who is a fairly successful writer. 80s and then 90s just was not having much success, and somewhere around 52 years of age, she was kind of told she was obsolete and was told not to write. And she had a very prickly, abrasive, challenging character, and she kind of wasn't flexible enough to go and just get another job or do something else. She wasn't great with people. I have a soft spot for her. I think she was truly backed into a corner and was desperate, and there's a really lovely, very unlikely friendship between her and Jack, played by Richard E. Grant, that is kind of delightful. I hope that kind of people are reminded that the people that we pass all the time on the street that we don't notice and that seem invisible, maybe to look up and actually see them, because you don't know when they're amazingly talented or just need someone to see them. I think everybody needs to be seen by someone.
It was great. We shot one day. I mean, they shot all my scenes in one day. And she was just like, she's immensely famous, one of the most famous people in the world. And she spent the entire time, making me feel like I was just talking to another actor. It was just such a beautiful working environment. Marielle and Brandon are both excellent to be in the room with. And it just felt like an incredibly creative day. We got to all play and think of things, and it was a lot of hard work. It was a long day, but I enjoyed myself very, very much.
but there is such beauty in, well, the writing is beautiful, and Melissa's portrayal of Lee is just so nuanced and so sweet and so real and specific that it's an amazing thing, I think. I know, it's wonderful. They're both so generous and funny and kind, and getting to do scenes with Melissa was just a dream. She's so brilliant in this film. The only thing I remember was so wanting to sort of make friends with Melissa, because I was so excited right at the beginning, and she was just so sweet, and I'd be trying to tell sort of funny stories, and Mario would come up, the director, and say, finish that story in an American accent, and you'd be like, oh God, slightly lose sort of the punchline. I just get sort of self-conscious, but